Hello, Tennessee, and welcome to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee. They are the co-founders of Allon Planning Partners. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Jay, Brittany, it is so wonderful to be kicking off your program here today. I'll start with you, Jay. How are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Glad to be here with you, Spike. Glad to be here helping another and resource to our community with education in this way. So glad to be here.
Fantastic. Brittany, we all together have been talking a lot about the kind of issues that we want to cover today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Excited to dig into this content and share some resources to the community.
Fantastic. Well, one of the things we're going to be talking about today are many of the pitfalls that are happening to folks right now when it comes to retirement planning, in part because you see people in your offices every single day. Planning for retirement is different than accumulating assets, and there's many different things, and sometimes it's just the smallest adjustment.
That's right.
That can make such a huge difference in somebody being able to be retired and how long they can retire. So let's just start out, Jay. What are some of the most common pitfalls you see?
Well, unfortunately, we do see these pitfalls that we talk about because folks spend most of their life in an accumulation standpoint as far as their finances, and then they have to change to distribution, right? And so some of the pitfalls that I see, probably one of the most damaging, is that folks know they have investments, but they don't really have a financial plan to back up those investments. So what I see is they don't really know how they're invested. So they may have higher risk than they're aware of. They may have high fees associated with their accounts that they don't realize. And so the biggest portion that I see is folks really maybe not having a full comprehensive financial plan, which we're going to talk a lot about today, and what that actually means. But having a full financial plan to back up the investments that they have. Maybe it's a 401k or an IRA or a Roth, and they want to, be able to make those funds last for the rest of their life. So we want to make sure that they have a plan in place that helps them do that.
And it's a lot different than just having investments themselves. A lot of folks have a 401k or maybe a 403b or a 457, or maybe they're outside IRAs. But is having an investment vehicle the same as having a financial plan?
Definitely not. That's one of the common pitfalls that we experience. We see so often. We'll sit down with someone. Okay, let's look at your plan. Let's look at what you have. Okay, here's my statement. And they think that the investment itself is the plan. The investment is a part or a component of the larger plan, not the plan itself. And that's a big differentiation there. Something else that we see a lot of are people not knowing where their accounts are.
Thank you. I was wondering about that because I'm looking here, obviously, at a couple, and you own a financial planning firm. But so you work together. So many of the couples out there watching the program out there, they might work in separate places. So we've got two different 401ks or a 457 or an IRA, or maybe somebody's getting an inheritance and maybe one spends differently than the other. How do you help aggregate all of these different plans? Because they're just like different puzzle pieces.
Right. Well, it's exactly that. I sat down with a lady a couple weeks ago, and she brought in all of her statements, and I have this account. She had like 6 or 7 different accounts, and I don't know really what these are, and so I was like, that's okay. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you process through that and analyze what you have and help put a plan in place. And so we looked at all of those things, and after digging through these 6 or 7 accounts and all of her situation, we actually found an extra account that she didn't even know she had. And so she began taking income immediately from this pension that she had from an old job that she was unaware that she even had access to. So when you don't know what you have, it can really hinder your overall plan. It can keep you from benefiting from what's yours in the first place.
Let me ask you a little further on that. When folks leave a job, it's often, hey, we're in a hurry to move someplace else. You see that a lot, don't you? 401ks left behind, kind of drifting 401ks. And it's not really a hard process to move
roll over at all.
is it?
It's not a hard process at all, and most folks, it becomes a daunting task that you don't want to deal with, right? It's another cog in the wheel of I'm moving, I'm trading jobs, I'm moving to a different city at some points, right? And some people, think it's going to be just too much of a hassle. We'll just leave it where it's at. We'll leave it and let it just do its thing. Well, that type of passive investment may not be working for you as well as an active investment would, because now that you're no longer with that company, whether you're at a certain age or not, you have the ability to roll that over into an IRA, maybe even do some Roth conversions or things of that nature.
Let me stop you right there, because I think that's a great point. I think a lot of folks go, well, I have $200,000 in this 401k for my former employer. It's a nice big chunk. I've heard about compound interest. Maybe I should just move this over into my new 401k. What did you say? That there's a great opportunity where you can now manage it on your own if you want to, right?
Self-directed IRAs, that's really the vehicle that we love working with, because we can actually take some of the training wheels off, so to speak, of the 401ks that confine sometimes, that do not have all the options that a self-directed IRA has. You may be able to, get into real estate or investing into other vehicles that a 401k may cuff you to.
Well,
only
that,
having those
that being the
investments.
point, when you're in your 401k, or 457 or TSP or whatever it might be, you are limited to the choices that are in there. Sometimes it's 5 choices, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 50 or 100, but then you have to evaluate which are the proper funds, and you're putting together your own diversification. Now, you can move it out, roll it into an IRA, or you can talk with someone like Allon Partners.
Absolutely.
And that's what we help do. We help individuals roll those funds over and put you in a position that is best for you, a position that can grow your assets in your way and help you get to your goals. That's really what we are all about at Allon Planning Partners. It's about a comprehensive financial planning approach. It's not just looking at a single investment and growing that until it reaches X amount of dollars. It's about an overarching plan that works to get you where you want to be.
And that's actually one more pitfall that I want to speak about, is because a lot of folks look at one investment that's done really well. Maybe last year it was my leading stock or leading bond or crypto these days, right? I had they were clients that came in, and we had a beautiful plan set up for them. And they said, Jay, we want to take everything that's in our IRA and put it into one cryptocurrency.
Oh my goodness.
We think the end of the world is coming.
And I had to explain to this couple, listen, that's not going to get you to the destination that you want to get to. This happened to be when this cryptocurrency was really high. So you were seeing the shiny returns. So one of the pitfalls, don't look at the shiny returns out there, the little lures along the way. It's about planning over time and having consistency and discipline within your plan. That's what's going to get you to the goals that you have.
We're going to continue talking about pitfalls in retirement. Another one that you had just mentioned is talking about fees, so we're going to hit that after the break. This is a newer program, though, and I thought you guys could let everyone know in Tennessee here, you would like to be able to do a complimentary phone call and maybe even an appointment. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. What we do, we offer a complimentary consultation, and we talk about a number of different things. Again, we take a comprehensive approach. We take a look at the fees you're paying. We look at, with current investments, we take a look at what you have as a current plan, if you have a current plan, and we see if there's any potential loopholes there, or things like tax planning, income planning. Have you prepared for some of these scenarios that you face at retirement? And we offer this complimentary review to assess where you are and give you some feedback, maybe again show you some opportunities where you have to fill in a few gaps to ensure that you do get to where you want to be at the point of retirement.
Jay, Brittany, we're going to be right back after this. We do have to talk about fees, if you don't mind, after the commercial break.
We definitely
Please take advantage of this complimentary offer to do your own retirement plan review. And if you don't have a retirement plan, you need to get one started. This is the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee. They are the founders of Allon Planning Partners right here in Tennessee. Call the phone number you see right here, 866-691-7317. More right after this break.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee. They are the co-founders of Allon Planning Partners right here in Tennessee. I'm your host, Spike Spangle, and we are talking, folks, about your retirement planning needs. Specifically today, pitfalls of retirement, things that you might not be aware of. You're going into retirement for the first time. Jay and Brittany help folks plan for retirement all of the time,
Yes, we do.
every single day in the offices. So let's talk about those pesky fees. Look, we know that all investments have some version of fee, but some more than others.
That's right.
How is a regular person supposed to figure out those fees?
Yeah, and it can be tough, right? It can
You
be
have to
tough
know
to
Greek.
figure that out.
Basically.
You have to know where to look first and foremost. So when clients come in, that's one of the first things we look at in their investment portfolios. We look at risk that they're associated with. If is it the right tolerance, then we look at here's what you're paying for that. Here's what you're paying for the investment vehicles that you currently have. So I can think of one individual in particular that came into our office not too long ago. They were working with a big box investment firm, right? And so most of the time, those are what they're talking about, how 10% is better than 8%. And they're looking at fees and investments, but typically return is all they're going to talk about, right? Not so much about the fees. We want to uncover the hidden fees. So when we did a review on this individual's accounts, we found that they were paying a little under 5% in fees.
But the interesting thing
a
about
year.
this client, though, is that when we first sat down with them, we were like, hey, where are your accounts? How are they positioned? What are you paying in fees? Their response was, I think I'm paying about 1.5% in fees.
Wow.
But when we actually began digging through the statement and the prospectus and all of that, it was nearing 5%, and they didn't even realize it.
Is
And
this
that
the
really common.
exception, or do you
No.
think this is?
It
Typically
is
the rule.
extremely
You know, even
common.
401ks out there, most folks think, well, they're lower in fees, right, than some
A
of the
lot
other
of
investments.
people
A lot of
think
people
that there was a poll done recently. A lot of people think their 401ks are free because it's coming from
That's
the employer.
exactly
Right,
true. A lot of
right.
people think when I ask those questions for people with 401ks, hey, what are you paying in fees? You know, because I usually ask that, what's your risk tolerance? What are you paying in fees? I want to hear these responses before we uncover some of these things. So a lot of times it's, I'm not paying anything.
Right.
and it's nothing further from the truth. Actually, Smart Asset, a recent a poll showed that most 401ks, the average is 2.2%. Within most 401k plans, and that's the average.
Yeah, and like you said, there's going to typically be a fee associated with an investment account.
You go to a restaurant, there's a cost to that. You go to Jiffy Lube, there's a cost for somebody else
Yeah.
doing the
Yeah.
order. We realize that. But there are different types of fees.
gonna hit you with
and
one.
that's what gets confusing to me.
Yeah, I want to hit you with one that most people don't think about, and they not even know about. It's called a 12B1 fee. Now, I know
this is
that
gibberish. What are you talking
it's gibberish.
about? Are you
have
making
to
these up, Jay?
really, You have to go deep in the prospectuses to find these fees, right? But it's actually a fee that a fund is allowed to charge you as someone who is a part of their fund to advertise and to market for them, right?
Right.
And so you are spending your money not just to be a part of that fund, but
I'm
to
paying
advertise
for them
for that fund.
to market their fund, and you're
That is
saying that's
correct.
a fee that's inside
That
the
is
fund.
correct, and
Right.
those can be quite costly. And sometimes we think, oh, 1% here, 2% here, that's not a big deal. But
It
over the
adds up.
lifetime of your plan, it's going to eat away your retirement savings. And we have to know what exactly you're paying and how much risk you're taking. And that's the common pitfalls that we find people don't know.
And one of the things that I do want to say to the audience, I don't think Jay or Brittany or myself or anyone is saying don't use your retirement plan at work.
Right.
But what we do want
is
to know is
correct.
exactly what those fees
How
are.
it's being
Because there are different kinds. This is something that I actually follow very closely. There's a difference between what's called an exchange traded
That's
fund
right.
as opposed to a mutual
Mutual
fund.
fund.
And some of
Right.
these have loads. Can you explain what the load means?
Loaded mutual funds. A lot of times you will have mutual funds that have an upfront fee that is really not exposed or told to the client or the
Because
consumer.
I just think, well, I'm seeing S&P 500, or I'm seeing this is a
Right.
bond fund, and I
Right.
don't know what
But an
those are.
individual mutual fund can have its own fees associated with it itself. So, and you can either be charged that up front when you begin investing, or on the back end when you sell.
And most
you
people
take
see
it.
these, they see the ABC mutual funds, right? And so they just think, oh, most people don't even know what it means, right? But A is a front load, B, you're paying within that fund, and C, you're paying on the back end. And it's typically, basically just a commission. You're paying a commission to be a part of that fund. That is not on an exchange traded funds, which carry no loads mostly. So we utilize a lot more exchange traded funds, and I want to reiterate your point that we're not looking for folks to not use their retirement plan at work.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
that's
want
crucial.
folks to use their retirement
Yes.
plans at work, but let us help you in light of all of your other assets with those plans and say, how are you picking the funds that you're using with your retirement plan at work?
Now, typically at these retirement plans at work, do they have someone like yourself helping them figure out what is their risk tolerance, how should they be invested, what is the percentage, when to rebalance?
That's hard to find.
Yeah, unfortunately not. Typically when you begin, I mean, if anyone has ever began a new job, you know, you begin your work, you may sit down with an HR department and receive a folder. Hey, here's some options you have to choose from. Let us know which one you choose and we'll apply it. It may be something as basic and simple as that. So no, unfortunately,
They're not digging
individuals
into the depths.
don't have the clear direction as to what risk tolerance even means and how that impacts them, not just now, but 20, 30 years down the road when you're looking towards retirement savings.
Right.
So,
And generally what I found is that those plan administrators, they tell you how you can get registered. You can shoot them emails. There's even 800 numbers where you can call and ask
That's right.
or change your elections, but not really someone advising you on
Right.
save this much, you're taking this much risk, hey, let's pull this back as you're getting, and then there's a whole nother, this is a whole nother show, target
It's
date
a whole nother
funds.
show.
We'll have to
We
talk
can
about.
go
But
into that.
can you tell me a little bit about the difference? Because I'd like to learn a little bit more about Allon Wealth here. And are you guys able to explain the difference between a retirement planning advisor and someone who just helps you accumulate assets?
Absolutely. You know, and a retirement planning advisor, which we call ourselves comprehensive financial planners. We want to create a plan for you versus just a lot of the people that we're seeing come in with some of the statements of some other firms that we've seen that just focus on investment alone, which investment's a cornerstone. Investment is a huge piece. So that's talking about the risk and the fees associated and what you should be getting in return, you know, for the risk that you're taking, right? We got to look at those things. But you also have to be able to turn those investments into income. You also have to be able to, once you've accumulated these assets over 30, 40 years,
How do you
be
begin
able to
taking
use them at some point,
distribution?
right? So have a solid income plan, including maximizing your Social Security, right? Having an income plan set up for you for retirement. You want to have a great tax plan because every dollar that I can save you by not paying taxes is a dollar less I have to take on a risk that you're taking in your investments, okay? So you have to have a solid tax plan. You have to have a solid estate plan, which says, hey, when I'm no longer here or no longer able to focus these funds in the direction that I want, where are they going to go and how are they going to get there without the state being in charge of them, right? So it's really comprehensive in that manner. If I was giving those 4 areas, I would say we're very comprehensive in focusing on not just your investments, the risk fees associated with those, but the income plan, making sure that you're going to be able to have a good distribution within retirement, an estate plan, and a tax plan to make sure that you're not paying Uncle Sam more than his fair
So it's
share.
about more than just gain,
Yeah.
earn, build. That's an important part of it. But
Yeah.
again, it is just a part
All
of the
right.
overall comprehensive.
We're going to have to take a very short break. Jay and Brittany were saying it absolutely perfectly. It's not just about the investments. It's about having an overall and a complete plan. For the viewers of the program here, if you would like to have a comprehensive complimentary review, all you've got to do is call the phone number you see right here, 866-691-7317. More of the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee right after this break.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back, Tennessee, to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee. They are the co-founders of Allon Planning Partners. I am your host, Spike Spangle, and we're talking about, unfortunately, retirement pitfalls.
Yeah.
But what's great about it is that you're helping people here in Tennessee make sure that they can avoid those pitfalls.
That's correct.
Best idea is to work with a professional, but if people are doing it on their own, let me ask you this. Procrastination is a word, especially when it comes to
That's a big
retirement
pitfall.
planning. And I don't want to blame anybody out there, because when I say procrastinating, I mean procrastinating our savings, maybe not putting enough into our own retirement accounts, but that's possibly because we're taking care of the kids,
That's
trying
right.
to set up college funds.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on right now. Inflation really, really high. How do you overcome procrastination when it comes to retirement planning?
Well, getting started is the first step, right? Procrastination can be a killer. I understand there's many reasons why. It's daunting today with high inflation rates. We're in a bear market right now. We've been seeing a lot of market volatility. We've got a recession that may or may not be here that there's a debate on, right? So I think, procrastination and saying, well, I'll get to that when I get to it, or you have young kids like we have, and they're in soccer practice, and you're living life, and retirement may be furthest thing from your mind. But I will say, if you are find yourself in that survival mode season, it's a time to get started, because you have to take the first step, which is just like I've had to start a new workout routine, right? It's discipline. It's like I got to quit eating so much of these type of foods and eat good foods, right? It's the same thing when it comes to financial planning. Procrastination will kill you, but it's never too late.
Right.
There's hope to start. We work with folks who are 40, 50, 60 before they're thinking about their retirement funds, and it's okay. We also work with folks who are in their 20s and 30s, and we love to get those folks started. So I would say don't let procrastination bite your retirement savings.
One switch I think sometimes that people can flip, and I think they're not very familiar with it, are the catch-up provisions. Do you see people utilizing catch-up provisions enough?
Oh, definitely. That's something, when we're looking at an overall plan, that's something we definitely
When we
recommend.
talk with them.
Yeah.
They do. But when they come in, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
But when they come in, I do not see a lot of people understanding that there even are catch-up provisions. But we're able to use those.
Explain just a little bit of what it is, because again, I'm not blaming the 401k plan, but the 401k plan isn't going to send you an email and say, by the way, don't forget you can do catch-up provisions. So let's explain
So
what they
after
are.
50, the catch-up provision is you're able to, in your IRAs or in your 401ks, contribute more than the actual minimums that are out there. So a lot more in your 401ks, especially. That's why we want to help you with your 401k investments, because you can put away more money than you realize, especially if you're over 50 years old. You can contribute up to $6,000 more dollars a year into your 401k as catch-up provision. So
Right.
we
And
don't
now
see
maybe
people using that.
we've already saved a little bit in the college funds. We're paying down on the mortgage. The down payment hopefully was 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago. So we're able to do those catch-up provisions. And, a lot of folks might say, well, boy, it's some $20,000 a year. That's a lot to save. But hopefully also in those 50s, we're at a better earning spot in our
That's
lives,
right.
correct?
We hope that's the case, right?
Yeah.
We hope that by when we're in our 50s, we're earning more money than we ever have, and we become more independent financially. So you're able to utilize the catch-up provisions to get your retirement savings on track if you've procrastinated in that area. And so we love to help folks understand that.
One last thing that I would like to ask about pitfalls in retirement, because I'm not sure if enough folks are paying attention, and that would be considering healthcare costs. Do you address that at the firm, or do you talk about healthcare costs? And how do you?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. That is one of the core components when we're talking about the overall plan. We do find that so many people do not consider the cost of health care in retirement or pre-retirement years, even looking at what that might cost. And that is such an integral part of a comprehensive financial plan, ensuring that those costs are covered, that you have a plan in place if, God forbid, worst case scenario happened and you had to have some kind of long-term care or some kind of medical crisis or anything.
How are you going to protect your retirement funds?
Yeah, and estate planning. You
I
know,
was gonna say,
that
just
leads right into that.
Right. Around here, what would you say are the average costs of long-term care facilities? I mean, across the country, I hear it's anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000.
It's very, very expensive. We know that it's only going one way too with inflation. and
Around,
that is up.
within our region, it's about $100,000 a year
Oh,
to
wow.
stay in a
Right.
long-term care.
Right,
So
and
I mean,
so-
that can drain your savings so quick. A retirement account can be dwindled down to
Exactly,
nothing
and if we're
because of
thinking
that.
about partners, right, is we've got $500, $600, $700,000 saved. One of you needs to go into long-term care facility, and I'm sorry, I'll only say that you said, God forbid, something happens. I'm seeing it more and more frequently. I've got two grandmothers, they've lived into their 90s, but they now both need long-term care. There was no emergency, it's just we're living healthier.
We're
So
blessed to
I
be
think-
living longer, and we have to be
Right.
prepared for
And
that.
I think we need to be prepared for it because
Yeah.
otherwise it will drain down that life savings very,
we see
very
it all
quickly.
too often.
I know, because you do this every single day in the offices. So I know for the viewers of your program here, you would like to be able to do a complimentary review.
Absolutely.
What things will you actually cover in this review?
Yeah, when we talk about a complimentary review, what we're going to discuss are things like the fees that you're paying in current investment accounts. We're going to look at things like healthcare. Have you looked at the costs of healthcare in retirement years? Have you considered that? Have you considered taxes? A lot of people forget that in retirement you do have taxes to pay. That is a big part of your financial picture in that stage of life, but a lot of times it gets overlooked. So we want to ensure that you have all those holes filled when you're talking about taxes and beginning to take income from these accounts and all of these things. So taking a look at all of those items and putting together a plan that helps you get to where you want to be. And part of that looks like just sitting and listening to you. What are your goals? What do you envision for your retirement? What kind of lifestyle do you want? And helping ensure that you have a plan in place to help you get there.
Absolutely.
Jay and Brittany, I look forward to doing more retirement planning programs with you. I think this was a wonderful first
fun.
program together.
That's great.
Folks out there, please make sure you call and get your own complimentary review by calling the phone number you see right here, 866-691-7317. This has been the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week.